Luigi Mangione is a name on everyone's lips. Some see him as a monster, others believe he is a hero, but everyone agrees his story is a tragedy. It all started on December 4th, 2024. That's when the CEO of United Healthcare, Brian Thompson, was shot and killed. The police arrested Mangione for the crime. He's only 26 years old. Mangione claims he is not guilty. He will have his day in court, but for now he sits in a jail cell. He is waiting to find out his fate. The murder sent shockwaves across the nation. It happened in broad daylight. Thompson was leaving his office in New York City. Witnesses said a lone gunman approached him. The gunman fired several shots. Thompson died at the scene. The killer escaped in the chaos. Police quickly identified Mangione as the suspect. He was arrested at his apartment later that day. Mangione was a quiet man. He lived a simple life. He worked as a librarian in Brooklyn. He had no prior criminal record. Those who knew him were shocked. They never thought he was capable of such violence. However, some reports suggest Mangione was deeply troubled. He was reportedly struggling to pay his medical bills. He was also a vocal critic of the American healthcare system. He believed it was unfair and unjust. The murder sparked a firestorm of debate. Some people condemned the act. They called for swift justice. Others expressed sympathy for Mangione. They understood his anger at the healthcare system. The case became a flashpoint. It ignited a national conversation about healthcare. People debated the high costs. They questioned the accessibility of treatment. They wondered if the system was failing people like Mangione. Section 5. A broken system. Mangione had spoken out against the healthcare system. He believed it was broken. He had experienced it firsthand. He struggled to afford his medication. He had seen others suffer because of it. In the weeks before the shooting, Mangione had a video call with Gurvinder Bhogal. Bhogal is a writer and activist based in the UK. He had spoken to Mangione about the differences between the US and UK healthcare systems. Section 6. Manifesto or cry for help. After the shooting, a document surfaced online. It was labeled as Mangione's Manifesto. In it, he railed against the healthcare industry. He called for radical change. He expressed a deep sense of despair. However, Bhogal has questioned the authenticity of the manifesto. He believes it may have been written under duress. He suggests that Mangione was not in a stable state of mind. Section 7. A question of fairness. Mangione's lawyer, Karen Friedman-Agnifilo, has raised concerns about the trial. She believes that the intense media coverage will make it difficult to find an impartial jury. She argues that her client's right to a fair trial is at stake. The prosecution has argued that the evidence against Mangione is overwhelming. They believe that he is a danger to society. They are seeking the death penalty. Section 8. Political football. The case has become a political lightning rod. Some politicians have condemned Mangione's actions. They have called for tougher law enforcement. Others have used the case to push for healthcare reform. They argue that the tragedy could have been avoided. Outgoing President Donald Trump condemned those who admire Mangione. President-elect Mike Pence has remained relatively silent on the case. The only comment from the White House was a brief statement offering condolences to the Thompson family. Section 9. A life upended. Gurvinder Bhogal wrote an article about his conversations with Luigi Mangione. It was published in it, Bhogal describes Mangione as a man full of contradictions. He was deeply pessimistic about the world, yet he held onto a sliver of hope for a better future. Bhogal believes that the tragedy is a symptom of a much larger problem. He argues that we need to address the root causes of violence and despair. He calls for a more compassionate and just society, one where people like Luigi Mangione don't feel like they have to resort to such desperate measures.